Hello, here I am again with another Fukushima weekly update from foodoffensive.com. I usually cover food-related issues. I tagline coming at you from the front lines of our food supply, and with my time spent in Japan and just the overall importance and imminent danger that we are facing concerning that disaster that does affect our food, as I pointed out in other videos. I want to continue with the tradition of doing a weekly update, at least one video a week if I can, keeping everyone aware of some of the things going on. Maybe you don't have time to read the articles or search them out. I try to find ones of most importance and point those out. There's constant things going on, but I guarantee this particular video this week is extremely important, and it's something that could lead to more information coming out. So I really wanted to point this out this week, and it's basically a couple of different articles that I found. I picked two because there's both of them have a little bit different information, so I wanted to point out both of those. But this is from RT News. They've been having a lot of good information about Fukushima, as I covered in my last video. A couple of good articles, and this one says Fukushima contractor forced workers to fake radiation readings. And this is from July 22nd, a very recent article. And it is absolutely amazing to have this information released, because it points out a lot of things, and it could lead to more things, like I said, being coming out, more information being vetted, and more people coming out and telling the truth about this. And basically, it says a company charged with decontaminating the devastated Fukushima nuclear power plant encouraged its workers to falsely lower their radiation dosimeter readings by covering the devices with lead. Now basically, these nuclear plant workers, especially the ones that are here cleaning up this radiological disaster that is Fukushima, concerning coming after the big tsunami and the earthquake and tsunami that hit the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. Basically, these nuclear workers are not allowed to be exposed to more than 50 millisieverts of radiation a year. And it says a senior executive gave the team at the site lead boxes that they were told to make into shields. So basically causing them the readings to be lower and making them work in this environment longer. And when the workers, when some of them refuse, this executive of this company I believe is called Build Up. It's a company that provided insulation on the pipes inside the Fukushima plant, and it's kind of taking control of the cleanup efforts there. He says when some of them refused, the executive called a meeting. And one thing I wanted to point out in some of the things that were said is basically he told them, the ones that didn't want to go along with this, said, perhaps you are not cut out for working at nuclear plants, he said. And I've got this highlighted here, you can see that on screen. He says, go back to your hometown and do some other job. So if you don't like being radiated and dying early and leaving your family and kids without a dad, just go back to your hometown and do a different job. Well, I would hope that they would go and do that then for their own safety. But it says pointing out the fact that Fukushima, after the earthquake last March, 3 of its reactors suffered full meltdowns. And moving right along, talking about TEPCO, which is the Tokyo Electric Power Company, that's the plant operator. They hired Build Up, this company called Build Up. It says they say they were aware of the existence of the shields, but believe they were never used by workers. It is not clear if shields were also used by other contractors. So TEPCO is claiming ignorance on this one. And then it goes on to say a parliamentary investigation called the meltdown, which was one of the worst accidents in the history of nuclear energy, quote, a profoundly man-made disaster and the result of collusion between the government, the regulators, and TEPCO, and the lack of governance by said parties. And I did a whole video concerning how Fukushima is being, a new report saying that it is a man-made event. And it says a newly published Stanford University study says that between 15 and 1,300 people could die as a result of exposure to radiation from Fukushima. So I think that might be, from my study of this and my research of this, a very conservative number, as we saw from the effects of Chernobyl back in the 80s. They're saying that quite possibly 1 million people could have been adversely affected by that meltdown, by that disaster that happened there. And many nuclear experts are saying that the Fukushima plant is many times worse. So I believe that could be a very conservative number. And like I said, I had another article here, and this is from LA Times World. Japan investigating if Fukushima workers hid radiation exposure. So this was from the 23rd, coming out a day after the RT News article. Some points I wanted to point out here. It says that the workers were pushed to shield their radiation meters so they could keep working for longer on the contaminated plant. That's kind of what I pointed out in the last article. They said, we thought it would be difficult to find because the radiation levels were high there. Oh, basically, after they shielded their meters with these lead covers, the employees that did agree to do it, they threw the plates away in the grassy areas on the plant grounds, and they did that because they didn't think people would find them, because no one wants to go in that area. I mean, who would? And then that's all I wanted to point out there, but a couple of quotes that from the workers that weren't in the other article. But this is something that's very serious. I mean, even Asahi News there in Japan is reporting on it, the Asahi newspaper. So I think that's an important thing to point out. And if the workers are hiding this radiation levels there on the plant while they're the ones actually exposed to it, what are the companies like TEPCO that are in charge of this, and Build Up, and the other contractors surrounding this, and the Japanese government and other authorities around the world, what else could they be covering up? If in this, extremely dangerous situation we have surrounding Fukushima, if the workers that are actually there working in the cleanup and decontamination process, if they're willing to cover up the levels of radiation just so they can work longer, what else is being done by people, these authorities and things that aren't directly potentially not directly exposed? What do they know that they're not telling us? And that's why this is very important that this came out, and I will continue to look into this, and hopefully more will come out, and more whistleblower type things will come out as a result of this, and things that we can prove. And it looks like these things did happen, and that TEPCO, by saying in the other RT News article, TEPCO, by saying that they knew the shields existed but just hoped that they weren't being used. I mean, come on, that's basically agreeing to the fact that yes, these things were used and that they existed, and this probably happened. So very, very interesting, very good news that have come out. Not good in the fact that these poor people are taking this job and doing it, putting their life in peril, but the fact that this information has come out, that's the good part, that the information is being released, and it could open up the doors to more that have come out. And so I will continue to look at information, look at various sites like FukushimaDiary.com and some others that are covering the Fukushima events specifically on a day-to-day basis, at a full-time basis. Then I will continue to bring you information that could be of importance and interest to you. So until next time, this is FoodOffensive.com's weekly Fukushima update. Thank you for joining me.